I think this may be my favorite dress so far. Very short background to this one. I'm going to a wedding. It is going to be at a winery, and I wanted to make my dress. I'm going to be using this Vogue pattern that I found at Spotlight. Initially, I wanted to make the longer one, but it did seem a bit obscene, especially with the train. So I'm going to be making this shorter one, if it will focus. It is the Vogue V2010 pattern, and there's not really much else to say about it, so let's get into it. Okay, I'm currently on my floor. This pattern requires an underlining, a lining, and a fabric. So the way I'm going to do it is to trace the pattern onto the underlining and then use that as the pattern to trace onto my lining and my fabric. The really annoying part is that there needs to be 2 of the underlining, 2 of the lining, 2 of the fabric of like each piece. So it's going to be really annoying to do. These cups are to weigh things down and my bottle are to weigh things down while I trace. So I imagine I'm going to spend the next couple hours doing this. I don't know what the best way to do it is. I'm just making it up as I go and we'll see how we go. I've got a pen to mark onto the muslin, which is what I'm using as the underlining because my tailor's chalk will just like rip it. So we'll see how it goes. All right, I lied. Turns out I cannot trace onto the underlining at all. So I'm going to have to do this the hard way and the way I normally do it, which is like tracing onto baking paper and then transferring that onto my pattern pieces. So we're going to be here for a while.
A few moments later.
I remembered I had this colored tracing paper, which is excellent because you basically put it under the pattern and use a tracing wheel and it will transfer the pattern for you. And then I've just retraced the pattern with some chalk just so I can see it a lot better on the dark black fabric. You can see, like you can actually see it quite well regardless. I just wanted to make sure. This cotton is a lot thicker than I thought it was. I was going to use it for the lining. I don't have enough to use it for the whole lining actually. So it doesn't really matter, but it's very thick. So I've just decided to use it for the lining for the top bits. And then I'm just going to get a really like more flimsy cotton poplin for the lining of the skirt bits because I want them to be a bit more flowy and not be as heavy. And this is like quite rigid and thick, which I think will be good for the top, but I do not think it will be good for the skirts. We'll see. I'm really just making this up as I go because I'm almost certain that the crinkle velvet I want to use is not suitable for this project. So we're really winging it. We have had such a messy start to this project. Turns out I did have the lining fabric. I knew I had bought it. I just didn't know where it was, but I found it. So if you ignore the cat, you'll see I have plenty. So I have no idea what that other fabric was for, and it was definitely too thick to line the skirts, but here's the proper one. So I had left a lot of my sewing stuff on the table while I work this week so I can come back to it and work on it either in the evening if I have time or over the weekend. And part of the thought process of leaving it on the second half of the dining table, because we need to use the other half to eat dinner, is so it's out of the way and isn't touched by anyone. So tell me why. Tell me why the fabric is covered in fur. My black fabric on my dining table is covered in fur. Can you explain? On the dining table? What do we think, Chad? Is he helping? I'm currently using the lining pieces as the pattern pieces for the interlining on the muslin. And that was a great idea. I am so glad I decided to do it this way. So after I cut out the interlining, I just need to cut out the actual fabric pieces. I feel like 95% of the sewing process is just tracing, cutting, preparing the fabric. And I keep forgetting that every time I do it. We're about to cut the fabric pieces, but I just wanted to stop and admire how pretty it is. Wow. Also, I'm kind of like procrastinating because I can't
cut this fabric folded. I have to do it on a single side, right side up. And so I'm just dreading the cutting process, to be honest. But the fabric is stunning and I am so keen. I am back on the floor. I have all my fabric and my lining and my interlining, which is in a bundle over there with post-it notes between each layer so I know which interlining bit is what, cut out and ready. But what I do want to do next is transfer all my notches and any other important markings onto the wrong sides of all the bits of fabric, because since I use my lining as a pattern, only a couple of these have the notch markings and stuff. So I just need to transfer them across and make sure that everything has it, so I can see everything on all the patterns. And where there are little, oh, give me a second, I'm going to see if I can find one. Where there's these little circular markings, I'm probably going to use a pen to mark straight through, pin straight through there to the other side. Doing this one-handed is hard, and where it comes out, I'm going to use some fabric chalk to circle around so I can have the marking on the other side as well. But yeah, that's going to take a while, but then we'll finally be ready to sew. So I've been experimenting with some stitches on my sewing machine because I haven't sewn with this kind of fabric before. And it's stretchy and it's velvet, and I wanted to make sure that I got something that would work with the stretch so that when you pulled the fabric apart, it wouldn't like completely rip the stitches. And I've discovered the zigzag stretch stitch setting on my machine, which has been amazing because it's so tight and you can pull the fabric whichever way and it will have the ability to move with the pull and the stretch of the fabric without pulling the stitches. And it's super great and it's super tight. So we're going to start sewing the top of the dress and see how that goes. I've started sewing together the top. I think it's working fine. There's some stay stitching around the neckline and the armholes. It's connected pretty well, mostly. Nothing I can't fix in post. And I've started sewing the lining together. It wasn't on the instructions to do so, but based on my understanding of how lining works, like you just do the same thing to the lining as you do to the outer fabric and then you connect them together. So I just figured I'd do them together as I go to make sure I don't have to do it all later. So we'll see how that goes. Okay, so we've got the top and the bottom half of the front of the outer bit, and the top and bottom half of the front of the lining. What I'm thinking is next I have to attach the top bit to the bottom bit, and then I'll do the back and sides and similar vibes for that. I guess there's no more sewing for today because that's where the rest of my pieces are. So anyway, we've done the front of the outer shell and the lining. And I'll do the rest of it some other time. For anyone else who was worried, like me, when I saw him, about all the pins, I've put a bunch of the interlining on top to try and protect him from getting poked. So hopefully that's okay. I'm currently working on the bands for the back of this dress. However, I've been looking at the fabric, and this isn't part of the actual sewing instructions, but my fabric is very flimsy and it's also very stretchy. And even though you do like stay stitch around the armholes and around the neck just to make sure it doesn't stretch out or lose its shape, I'm not convinced that that is the case with the fabric I'm using. And so I'm thinking I might use some of this cotton tape to reinforce the edges and help keep that shape. I'll just pop it in the seam allowance area and see how that goes. I don't know if it'll actually change anything, but it'll make me feel better about the stability. Okay, so I've done the straps, which are currently pinned forwards, but once the sides are sewn together, they'll get sewn into there and then pulled to the back. I've just popped the cotton tape that I was going to use to line the armholes and the neck with just up here. I'll do it later. And then I've also done the back pieces, and I've kind of just pinned them to the mannequin haphazardly. The next steps technically are to put the zipper in at the back and sew the back up, and then sew the back to the front at the sides. However, I was thinking that since I've already done the lining for the front and I just need to sew the lining for the back together, I was instead going to sew the back lining to the front lining and sew all the lining together and then try it on to see if it needs to be adjusted, and then make the same adjustments to the outer fabric. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to finish the lining and then we'll do a little try on to see. Okay, so I've put the lining together. I've tried it on. As you'll see, give me a second to flip this. It's all sewn up save for this little gap here, which is where the zipper would be on the outer lining, or well, on the outer fabric. So I've just left a gap there. You're going to have to take my word on it fitting, because when I tried it on, there's no neck strap to keep it on, and there's no back straps to keep it up. So there's no way for me to show you that it fits at the moment without becoming a completely different type of channel.
Nice!
So, we may have skipped a couple of steps.
I'm going to need you to ignore the mess. But, it's basically finished, which is really exciting. I just need... Well, we can get closer and I'll show you what I just need to do. Also, the measurements for the dress form are larger than mine, specifically around the bust. So it will look like it doesn't fit the dress form properly. That doesn't mean it doesn't fit me properly. But I've done the little neck bit, show you from the back. It does close around my neck, but I've even put the little clips in, which I'm happy with. I've done the back straps. Those are ready to go. Once again, the clips have been put in. I had to go a bit further down here because otherwise they were too wide. Same here. There's the back. Zipper's been put in. As you can see, the lining has been connected to the outer shell. So really, the only thing I have left to do is to do the little bows that go on these straps and on the back here. And then we'll be done. And we'll be ready for another try on. Okay, so I'm trying to make some adjustments to make the dress fit better. So at the moment, I've got some pins here to bring this bit up a little bit more. So then it comes in at the waist a bit more, because before it was a bit baggy. And then I'm just trying to figure out how to fix this bit, because if you look from the side, it kind of like goes down a bit too much, it's a bit loose, and it kind of sticks out. So I'm thinking if I put some darts down here to try and pull it in, that'll help. But uncertain. We're just fiddling with the fit right now. And then I also need to do the little bows and stuff on the back. But yeah, we're almost there. And then, well, you can't see it right now, but this is a knit. So I probably don't need a hem it because it won't fray, but I think I still will. I'm thinking about it. My problem is that sometimes written instructions don't make sense to me until I actually do it, I suppose. But like, my brain not vibing with whatever was happening here. So I made a little prototype, which I'm quite happy with and I think looks great. And then I made these three and I think they look even better. So I'm keen to pop them on the back of the dress and then it will basically be finished. All right, chat, be honest. How do we feel about the bows? Do we like it? Do we not like it? We're not commenting on whether we think the bows are in the center or not, because they're probably not. But are they cute? Anyway, here's the dress. I thought I'd just style it with these little heels and this black beaded bag that my mum wore to a wedding like 10, 15 years ago or something like that. But it's very beautiful and very lovely, and I think goes with the look. And then I'm thinking like slick back bun kind of moment. Oh, and I did end up fixing the back a bit, like I pulled it up a bit. However, I can't pin this in too much, I've discovered, because I need to be able to like bend over to like sit and stuff. And when I had the pins in to fix this bit, and I bent over to pick something up, the pins immediately all popped out. So that seemed problematic. But I'm hoping it looks like a style choice, and it otherwise looks good. In summary, I feel like we were pretty successful, and here I am able to sit down because I didn't fiddle with the back of the dress too much, so there's that. If this video gets posted after the wedding, I might be able to put in some photos of like the final look, who knows, but otherwise, thank you for coming along on this journey with me. I feel like we're getting a little bit better at the whole process of putting something together, of knowing what to fix, what not to fix, etc., etc. And I'm having a lot of fun with this. I'm having a lot of fun trying all these different fabrics and all these different kinds of silhouettes and everything. I'm also just really excited for more projects. I am not certain what my next ones will be, but I am keen regardless, because I do have a bunch of fabrics and a bunch of patterns that I have in mind and that I've planned out. Do you have any upcoming projects, events, anything like that you're excited about? Any patterns? Leave them down below, and I will see you next time.